This week on the Derek's Live, we're talking about setting the standard, non-negotiable number 5. What's going on, guys? My name's Sean. I'm gonna be your host tonight. Here with Emily. See, we had this whole discussion. This is our second take, and on the first take, Emily was supposed to come in and she just looked at me, so we started over, and now she's like jumping the gun. She's excited and ready to go. She doesn't want to disappoint.
Something like that.
Something like that. How you doing tonight, babe?
I'm fine. I'm here.
You're here.
Present.
It's we're freaking old.
We are very old.
We're getting ready for this thing, and like my joints are hurting, and Emily did something. The toddler kicked Emily in the neck.
I didn't do something. The toddler kicked
toddler
me
did
in
something.
the chin 2 nights ago, and since like the last 2 days in a row consecutively, I've felt like I got in a car accident. My neck hurts so bad. I can't barely twist.
We probably need to get you into like a chiropractor or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today.
Yeah. So she was like asleep, and our toddler likes to flip upside down in the bed. I don't know if you've got one of those. Well, first of all, she likes to get in the bed in the middle of the night when she's not supposed to. And
she's sneaky.
And she got in the bed the other night and then was sleeping upside down and just like
full throttle
kicked
bent the
Emily
knee
right
like
in the
from like
face.
up in her chest into my chin, and like my whole head jerked back.
Freaking jerk.
And that's how I woke up, and so that was fun.
Oh, well, it's been an interesting week, and it's only Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
It's getting a little bit chilly down here.
It is.
We got our first cold front.
Beautiful. It's going to get down like in the 40s tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think the low tonight's like 45 at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Heck yeah.
And I think we're supposed to see the 30s tomorrow, which some of y'all are like, oh, that's not fucking cold. It's cold here.
I have family in New York that already got their first snow.
Yeah,
so
no, that's freezing here. So we'll see teens sometimes.
Like once.
Well, but like we're up here, we're a little bit north in the state, so we see a little bit colder temperatures, but not like they see up there. But we're
and it doesn't last. It's usually like a day or two, and then it's back in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah. So
we'll take it when we can get it.
Yeah. I don't know. I could do like 65 all year long. That would be ideal. 30% humidity. Find that place and let's move there, because that sounds like heaven. So, well, guys, we've been talking over the last couple of weeks about the non-negotiables in our life. So if this is your first episode, if you're just tuning in, we're on non-negotiable
number 5. Yeah.
So we're talking this week about setting the standard in your life. And so we started a couple weeks ago with these. It started in episode 3. Or 4. I guess it was 3. And so episode 3 was Own It, which is our first non-negotiable. And then there's a couple more. Just Jump was last week's. And then I forget which ones we've covered already.
So it started with owning your shit, taking responsibility. And then we went into living a life of joy, of intentional joy, like it was on purpose. And we talked about how wisdom unlocks the world. And then last week we talked about Just Jump. And going for it.
If you can't tell, Emily's the note taker and I'm the just wing it. I'm the free spirit, and Emily is the no, we're gonna write it all down. I'm like, no, let's just we'll figure it out. We can figure this out. So we're on non-negotiable number 5. And so these non-negotiables, these are things that we instill in each other, in our own life, but also in our children's lives, because like we're just getting some of these things as adults. We're in our mid-30s, and as adults, these things have really like unlocked a lot of things for us. Not just financially, but like just growth-wise, and in a lot of different areas. And
kind of rapidly.
Very quickly. So if you can start to get these things in your life now, and they can make that big of an impact they've already made on us. We're really excited to see how much they impact our kids.
Yeah.
Because if they can come out of school into their teenage years and get a hold of some of these things, the roof's the limit. Like
Yeah.
there's no limit, right?
Yeah, there is no limit.
Like they can go as high as they want to. And so, last week we talked about just jumping, right? And so, last week we talked about like sometimes you just got to go all in and you've got to chase the dream.
Yeah.
Right. And so we really dove into that. If you've missed that, please go back and listen to it. It was a really great episode. We've got a lot of awesome feedback on that one. People really liked that one.
And it's chock full of information. It's one of those ones you probably want to listen to more than once.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time to kind of digest it and go back and listen to it with a different mindset.
Yeah.
So once you've heard it once, you're like, okay, how do I apply this? Because you want to kind of focus it. And that was part of that episode was talking about focus and how focus really does change the dynamic of the trajectory of where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's definitely, we spent a lot of time researching that episode. We spent a lot of time researching most of our episodes, but that one specifically, we kind of dove in really deep, and it really was very personal for us because it's something that we're kind of walking out
like right now.
right now. So, because we're in this really crazy time in our life and with our children that we're doing a lot of things for the very first time, not just for us as parents, but like the first time ever in our lineage. And it's kind of terrifying and wild to watch it kind of play out day by day.
Yeah, and I think that there's a time that's coming that we're gonna have to put all the cards on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And so some of this is scary shit.
Yeah.
Right. There's gonna be some things that like the risk reward payoff is gonna be real.
Yeah.
And you've got to be willing to just kind of dive off the fucking cliff and say, hey, you know what, I'm doing this. Yep. And so it's been really cool. We've had some friends this week reach out that are starting businesses just after hearing the podcast. Yeah. And so if that's you, like we're super, super excited for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting this be that impact in your life. It means a lot to know that people are getting stuff out of your content.
Yeah.
So,
and we're proud of you.
Yeah, super, super proud of you.
And it doesn't matter. Like it shouldn't worry, but just know that there are people out there rooting for you. And this is like, it's personal. We are like on your squad.
For sure.
So we're so proud.
So, but then there's some of you guys that are probably like, all right, I'm ready to go. But and you're listening to all those voices of doubt in your head. And that's really where setting the standard comes into play. And this is a big one for us. Some of you guys are, you're ready to do something and you don't know what that is. And we talked a little bit about that last week, but some of you guys know what it is. Like some of you guys have figured out your thing. You know what you want to pursue. You know what you want to do. But there's that voice of like one of your parents or a teacher or yourself or whatever fucking lie you've told yourself or listened to that's just in the back of your head and you just won't let it go.
So, and sometimes this goes deeper than like even just family. Sometimes it's cultural.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look at your surroundings and the culture that you grew up in, and this is real. Like, well, we don't leave this community. We don't do those kinds of things in our...
Oh, we don't go to college. That's not like in our spectrum.
Right.
And this is a really personal one for me. Emily and I have talked about this a lot, but like in my family, like graduating high school wasn't something that most of us did.
Right.
Like I think I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school in a couple generations. Yeah. College was fucking like not even mentioned. Like we didn't talk about it. And so when I was in school, I went to a school for kids who had gotten kicked out of public school. It was dropout prevention. And it was like, let's just get you to the fucking finish line.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens to you, happens to you. And so like I pursued a couple trade schools that I was interested in and just like there was no financial means to do that. And so like my mom was kind of like supportive of those things, but when it really came down to it, she's like, I can't do that. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go fucking work. And that's just what we did.
And you were young. I mean, you were still in high school when you had your first...
more earlier than that. I got my first job, I think it was like 13. Yeah. I worked in this little fucking call center for the Police Athletic League making donation calls. And it was too far away. I didn't have a driver's license. My mom was killing her gas, which is super understandable. And then 2 years later, I got a job at Pizza Hut at like 15, and I've worked every day since. So, but like to say that, like some of you guys just don't, like you've never known what success looks like. You've never known or understood the principles and the values that go into this thing. And when you get exposed to them, you don't have a fucking excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so like when you start to own your own outcome and you say, hey, you know what? I don't fucking care who came before me. I'm going to go make it happen.
Yep.
That's the difference maker. Right. And so there's going to be a point in your family's history where somebody's going to have to change what tomorrow looks like. Right. And you've got to be that person. Like you've got to be the person that says, hey, you know what? I'm going to be the first one to go to college.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the first one to own a business. I'm going to be the first one to buy my first house. I'm going to be the first to do something.
And it doesn't matter what that something is. Start somewhere.
Yes.
Write the book. Open the restaurant. Write the cookbook. Like there are so many firsts that can come. And like, please don't misunderstand. We are all about furthering who you are. And if that's a college education, for God's sakes, please go do that. But that is not an end to a mean. That's not an end all be all. That's just the piece of paper that says you're capable, you're qualified in whatever you studied.
Well, in a lot of cases though, that it really doesn't even mean that anymore. And so like there's some things that some of you guys want to do that you've dreamed and aspirations that require that piece of paper. That's go fucking get it.
Yeah.
Go start there.
But don't let that be the thing that holds you back from pursuing the real dream. If you think you have to have a piece of paper to write a book, you don't.
Look, I promise you don't need a business degree to go start a fucking business.
Correct.
Like I know a lot of guys making 7 figures a year that ain't never been to fucking college in their life.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are never even graduated high school.
Right. And so like don't let that piece of paper be the thing that holds you back. If you want to be a doctor, though, you got to go get a fucking piece of paper.
Right.
That's just the reality of the world we live in. I mean, you might be able to move to Guatemala and do some sketchy shit down there. I'm not sure. But if you're going to do it here in the United States, you got to go to school. And so, you know, just be willing to be the one, to be the person that steps out. I think that's Ed Milet says it best. Be the one. Like you've got to be the one that goes and changes your fucking generational tree. Nobody else is going to do it if you don't do it.
That's right.
You can't risk that. You can't say, well, it's not going to be me. It's going to be the next guy, because there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And when you set the standard for what happens in your own life and your kids watch you live up to that standard, they follow suit. You pass that on. It's just like when there's generations that have come before you and you've never understood what those things look like, you never pursued them because you didn't know they fucking existed.
That's right.
But now you know. And now you get to pass that on to your children, and they get to be even further ahead because you took the time to build those values in their life.
And that's crazy thing happens because you set high standards. Your children learn to set high standards.
And it's so natural.
Yeah. And they push themselves to be even better and to set the standard even higher than what you even thought was possible.
And sometimes they call you out.
Most of the time. When they wait for the opportunity to.
They're looking for it, right? Great accountability partners, toddlers, and young kids are.
Yes. With very small or little to no filters. But like to be called out by your child on something that you're working on, there isn't anything more frustrating and more encouraging
right?
In the moment, because like,
it's like, oh man, shit, they're getting it, right?
Like you, not only do you see it, but you see that I'm lacking it and fuck, I've got to get on the ball because I'm not gonna not let you see me do this.
Yeah.
This is for you as much as it's for me, and I want you to get it. And the only way for you to see that is if I push myself. Yeah. So I'm gonna do this thing, and they catch it so quick. And the earlier you start, the sooner you start with your kids, the more they get a hold of this, and they just run with it.
Yeah,
they don't have they own it so early on that they don't have another choice but to keep going with it. It's wild. Like our 2-year-old is grasping these concepts in a way that I don't think we fully
know.
Like it's insane.
I'm so excited to see what this looks like for our young kids at 15 and at 19 and at 25. Like those things to me are just like, that's what this is about for us. And so like, yeah, we get to live a life that our parents didn't get to have at our age. That's fucking cool. But what's really, really cool is getting to sit and look back at 50 or 60 or 70 and see how this is going to impact our kids.
And our kids'
and our kids' and their kids'. Like the generations to come.
Legacy building.
Yes.
This isn't just a Sean and Emily thing. This is the legacy for the Derek name that's going to carry on for generations.
And that's important. Like when Emily and I like got married, like that's stuff we talked about. Like tomorrow, and the name value means something to us. We want the world to feel the impact that we leave. And if that world is just my family, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But it could be your family too, and that's even cooler. So like go fucking do something. You've got to stop like just fucking listening to all the bullshit and just be unwavering in whatever your dream is. And you've got to have a dream.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. Like it's walking out and dreaming bigger than you've ever fucking dreamed before and chasing it.
So, and going back to setting the standard, we were talking about setting the standard with your children and walking that out. And specifically walk it out and be the example for your child. Talk to them about why you're doing the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate how they can comprehend what you're doing. Kids are way smarter than you think.
We don't give them enough credit for that.
We really
don't. And I think like even in our own kids, like sometimes they'll say like just off the cuff comments and you're like, really, you understood like that? I thought like we were just having this conversation and like, but then one of the kids will like pipe up from the back seat and put their 2 cents in. It's like, yeah, you're right. That's super relevant. Now, you're not supposed to be listening to this conversation.
So, and that is, it's a double-edged sword because they do grasp things that probably they may or may not fully understand or that they should know, but like they get it. So take the time to explain why you're doing the things that you're doing.
Oh, for sure.
Talk them through it.
Yeah. It really changes their perspective on things because you usually think about like as a kid and your parents would be like, oh, because I told you so. Well, no, like why the fuck did you tell me that? Like I want to understand why I can't do that or why I shouldn't or why you're doing that. Like, why are you doing that and I can't do that? There's a reason. And that's a pretty broad example. But when you walk them down that road, it brings perspective to the situation. And sometimes when you give them enough perspective, they start to fucking pay attention.
Well, and then the opposite holds true. Sometimes the perspective is, I don't know why we do that. And it's a reflection point from mom and dad. Like, we've always done that.
Yeah.
I don't really know why that's the rule. Maybe we should adjust that because it maybe doesn't make sense.
100%.
Don't just take things at face value. And when your kids ask questions, take the time to listen and understand where they're coming from. God, you will learn so much and like see yourself in a way that you maybe have missed before and see your kids in a light that isn't just right or wrong. Like they are trying to grasp things that are so emotional and these tiny little spheres that they live in. Like their world is so small and they're trying to grasp these great big emotions. Help them through that by talking to them. Don't just underestimate like, oh, you don't need to know this. You don't understand this. This isn't for you right now. And there are going to be things that they don't need to know all the details. But
use wisdom in that, right?
Answer the question that they have. You don't have to go into detail. But sometimes it's just like, well, why do we wear a seatbelt? I can answer that question. These are the reasons why. This is why we do the things that we do. And it's not a just because answer all the time. And I think that for us, we kind of grew up in that time. Like, no, it's just because that's just the way, because I said so was like a regular thing that we heard. And
I think because of that, we had a tendency with our older kids to just say that like, hey, no, it's just because I said so.
And I think we probably missed the mark some of those times. Like, I don't know that we fully understood all of the reasons that we did the things we did. We were just doing the best we could with the knowledge that we had. And it wasn't until we really started to dive in and like, okay, we have to figure some other things out. There's a better way to do this.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. Like, once you've got the knowledge, you've got to do something with it, because now you're just complacent and you're the agitator of that situation.
Right.
And so, like, once you understand some things, don't be afraid to help your kids understand those things too. Can you imagine, like, if your kids get a hold of this shit at the same time you are? Could you imagine if you got a hold of it at 10 or 11 or 15 or 20, where you'd be? Like, it would have changed our life.
Yeah.
I know that.
Way.
And so, like, it's really cool though, like when you're walking out these examples and you just do things because it's becoming part of your character, how it also becomes part of your kid's character.
So, and I can give you like a tiny little example that happened just today. We did our schoolwork. So the weather, we talked about the weather being amazing. So we actually sat on the front porch this morning. And if this is your first time listening to us, we homeschool, and we've got 3 children that are still at home. We have 3 that are grown and mostly out of the house. But we have 3 that are younger, and they are homeschooled. And so we actually sat on the front porch this morning and did all of our schoolwork. And the weather was so nice, and we'd finished all of our schoolwork early, that our 5-year-old asked if we could go back to the super cool park that we played hide and go seek at. And what she was referring to is this old park that was probably built in the 80s or 90s, and it's all wood, but it's massive, and there's all these like really cool hiding places.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, you guys did all of your work, and we need to get out of the house. Let's go to the park. And for some strange reason, there was quite a bit of garbage at the park today, and we were the only ones there. And my 5-year-old just started picking up garbage and throwing it in the garbage can. And then she asked for a cup. She's like, well, there's a lot of little pieces. Can I have that empty cup from our lunch to fill up the cup? Sure. Well, then the 7-year-old tagged in. She's like, well, let's make it a game, because everything is a competition in our house.
Everything.
And so,
on purpose.
And they started racing around the playground, picking up garbage. And like, they had this conversation between the 2 of them. And I'm sitting there on the bench with the dog and the baby. And they're like, you wouldn't want another little kid to step on this. And we should make it better so that other people can have fun too. And they don't have to worry about there being garbage, because somebody else might not get to play if it's dirty all the time. And this was just the conversation that they were having back and forth with each other from a distance that I'm hearing, like, this is wild. Why are they doing this? And it turned into this game. And about the time that they were finished, another little kid showed up, and they started playing with the little kid. But it was so obvious to the adult that brought this little boy that she was trying to encourage her son or her grandson to like go help them pick up garbage. And because she noticed like they were enjoying making it better. And so one of the values that we've instilled in our children is like, no matter what, we leave where we're at better. And sometimes it's picking up garbage. Sometimes it's holding open a door. It's whatever little thing we can do.
Leave it better than you found it.
Leave it better than you found it. And that has instilled that value in everything that we do. How can we make it better today than it was yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
And so we do, like, what did we do good yesterday? How can we make it better with our schoolwork? How can we make it better with the story that we're reading? Can we use different voices? And it's every little thing, and it's small things. It's not always big things. It's picking up a handful of garbage and throwing it in the garbage can. But that little value has intrinsically left them with this mark that I'm going to leave everything I touch better than I found it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's honestly like, I don't even know that that's something that we preach a lot, like, but we pick up garbage, or we put our shopping cart back when we're done, or like, there's just little things that we do because it just feels like that's the thing we're supposed to do. Yeah. And so we do tell them like, hey, you need to leave things better than you found them. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of like hikes and trails and stuff like that. And so that's a big one in that aspect too. And so, just them seeing us live that out though is all that's needed for them to follow the example. Like, guys, this isn't hard. You just got to fucking set the standard with your kids. And if you set the standard, they want to be like you.
Yeah.
If you set a shit standard, they're going to be shit kids. But if you decide that you're going to be the best version of yourself you can be, and you're going to pursue that relentlessly, your kids are going to do the same thing. If you say, no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go do the work, I'm going to put in the time and do what I need to do to chase my dream, your kids are going to go do the same. But if you say, hey, you know what, my dream can wait till tomorrow, I'm going to procrastinate and sit around for it, well, your kids are going to have those same habits when they get into the real world. And so, like, we forget that they're watching sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes we just, like, we lay up and just expect, like, oh, I'm going to hit the Powerball and I'm never going to have to do anything to do this. One day it'll happen for me. And I got friends that fucking still, like, they've done nothing with their life and they say, hey, one day I'll hit the lottery, and they just sit at home and collect a fucking unemployment check or Social Security check. Like, if you've got kids, that's the standard you're setting for your children, that this is okay. And it's not okay. I don't care who you are. It's not okay. I love you. But damn it, get off the fucking couch and go do something with yourself. Stop going to a 9-to-5 job that you fucking hate. Don't quit your job, but go fucking find some hours in the night or hours in the morning or at your lunch break and go work on your dream so that you can get out from underneath that shit. Like, go chase something to make your family better.
So, and something really cool about kids is everything becomes a game. So these things that we're working really hard to grasp and it takes a lot of effort for us to, like, put these things into effect in our life. It's a game for them, and they learn it that much faster because it's play, and it just becomes who they are. Mm-hmm. It's not the effort every day to go through, like, what are the steps? What do I have to do today? It literally becomes their personality because it's a game. It's competition.
Well, you're building good habits.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. And you know, so, and we do it in a competitive spirit in our family. We're a win-lose. There's a first place and a loser. Mm-hmm. All right. And that's life. You can disagree with that. There's a lot of parenting perspectives that everybody gets a participation trophy and we're all involved and, you know, it's all fair games and this. No, fuck you. There's no, like, not everybody wins in life. There's real losers in life. And if you're preparing your kids for the world and not preparing the world for your kids, because that's bullshit. I think some of us put, like, these bumper stickers on our kids that are like, oh no, please treat me with, like, extra care and be super sensitive to this one. And you can't do that. It's just not reality.
Yeah.
And so you've got to prepare your children for the world they're stepping into. And if you don't do that, you're neglecting them. That's just the reality of it. If you're not instilling values in your children to make them successful, all you're doing is shortchanging them. It's neglect. And so you've got to be purposeful about preparing them. And you do that by setting the example, setting a standard that they're expected to live up to because you're living up to it. It's not a do as I say and not as I do kind of thing. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say, fuck you. And they're going to do what they want to do. All right. You've got to live this out in your own life so that you set the standard and the expectation for your family.
So you started to go into this about dreaming big dreams. What do you think are some of the steps that, like, the practical steps that we can take that will help us formulate those dreams and help us, like, wake up every single day and fight for the things that we're striving for?
Well, I think that's the key. I think your dreams really got to wake you up in the morning. Mm-hmm. I think that, like, I think if your dream's not like this thing that you just can't stop thinking about, then you probably need to bring some perspective and dream a little bigger. You know, I know for us, like, this thing here that we're doing with just the podcast, and we're getting ready to launch another business that really feeds into this. But realizing those things for our own life and what it really looks like, and getting some perspective on some of this. Like, man, I'm up more regularly in the morning than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah, you're beating your alarm up a lot of mornings, which is not like you at all.
No, not at all. I fucking hate the mornings. So, like, if you know me, like, I loathe anything before 10 a.m. I'm not functional for the most part. And I'm trying to change that habit, but I've had to be intentional about it. But this, like, it gets me up in the morning. I'm like, all right, let me, and honestly, it's like, hey, let me go work and put in the hours to get the money that I need to go chase this dream.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not chasing the money that I need to pursue the dream, I'm putting in the time and the hours to build the dream. And so and you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're using our time in the car when we travel to talk and plan and what's the next step, and like logical things like, okay, can we take notes while we're driving, or can we have a phone conversation and we record it? It's little things that we're trying to take every spare minute that's not spent either working or with our family to move us in the direction of our dreams. So, and we heard this kind of crazy analogy about dreaming big. And if you think about hunting, and we live in kind of a rural area, and so there's a lot of families out here that hunt. But if you're out hunting deer in bear country where there's bears everywhere, you're looking for the deer, but you're really looking for the bear to make sure that you're not getting attacked from behind. But if you're hunting bear in deer country, you don't really care where the deer is, right? Like the deer are not affecting your hunt. And it kind of plays into this thing like
nobody gives a fuck about the grizzly bear
or the
deer when you're hunting the grizzly bear.
Your dream should be the grizzly bear. It should be the big thing. It doesn't matter what other things go on during the day. That thing should be in your like mind sight all the time.
And you can't not think about it because it's so big and it's so part of who you are that you have to pursue it. And believe me, like your kids are going to watch you chase that fucking thing. Yeah. So go chase it. Like, and dream big. It's got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like if you're just cool telling people your dream, it's probably not big enough.
Yeah, you should be intimidated to tell other people because some people are going to laugh at you.
Yeah, and fuck them. Fuck them. Look, like there's even this thing, like the first time I told somebody that yeah, I think we're going to go try to be parenting coaches and start this fly-in business where people can fly out for retreats. And they were like, yeah, like, and it was a family member. They were like, yeah, I don't really understand. Like they didn't say it, but they fucking said it. Like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, but go for it. Like, but fuck them.
Yeah.
You can't listen to that. You got to know what your heart is and you've got to fucking go chase it. Don't listen to that shit. Like there's going to be things that people are going to say to you along your process. There's going to be things people do or don't do. You know, like you think that like all of our friends and family members support this. Most of them don't even like our shit, and that's okay. Fuck them. Like, but don't fucking call me and pretend that you didn't care.
Yeah. Like
you've got to have like this. We call it a family of choice, and I'm probably getting ahead here. So let me back up a little bit. But you've got to like a person that's never dreamed has never had a dream come true.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you refuse to dream, you refuse to win, because if you don't have a dream, you can't win, right? You win for somebody else, but you're going to do that for the rest of your life. Go win for your fucking self.
And write it down. Look at it every single day. Tell it to yourself. Say it out loud. Say it in front of your family.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be uncomfortable and tell other people. You should be uncomfortable when you tell people your dreams, but that should not stop you from telling other people your dreams.
No, because what it does is it brings accountability to yourself.
Right.
Because you've put it out there, and now if you don't do it, it's like everybody knows you fucking like, oh, I'm going to go do it. And you didn't do it. Right. So fuck them. Go prove them wrong. Go out there and set a standard and chase it and let people see you chase it. And eventually they're going to start to get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Or they won't. And that's okay.
That doesn't that's okay too.
Your success along the way if somebody doesn't get it.
Look, I promise you, everybody thought Bill Gates was a fucking retard when he started building computers in his garage.
Yeah.
And nobody thought that was going to be like, no, that's dumb.
No, it's almost like every great thing that has ever, like the light bulb. Yeah. Nobody really thought that was going to work.
No.
Right? So penicillin, the same thing. Like, okay, well, you can't really fix diseases. You can't really cure somebody of being sick. Well, fuck them. Yeah, I can. I can fix that.
Well, and now it's a standard. They set a standard that we can pursue these things. And so like, I love this story, like the standard that Michael Jordan sets.
Yeah.
And so there's this really cool story about Michael Jordan, and I forget the player's name that he was dealing with, but they were in the hunt for a ring, and they were in the finals, and everybody was banged up, and they were having practice, and this key player was missing from practice. And everybody's like, well, Mike's like, where's he at? And his teammates were, oh, he's in the room getting worked out by the trainer, getting a massage or getting stretched out.
He was getting a massage.
And so Michael Jordan goes into the training room and pulls this motherfucker off of the training table and tells him to go get out to practice. Says, we're all fucking hurt. If I'm going to be practicing, you're fucking practicing too. And so you've got to, and what that does is it sets a standard that, hey, we're all putting in the work. We're all involved in this process. We're all doing this. You're going to live up to the expectation if you're going to be here, right? And so whether this is your family or your employees or whatever like aspect that you're working in, like the people that you lead directly are only going to live up to the standard that you show them.
Right.
Right? If you're expecting someone to do more than you and you're leading them, well, you're not the fucking leader anymore. I hate to break that to you.
Yep.
Right. And so you have got to be willing to do more than the person that is behind you. And that's the same for your kids or your employees, whatever that looks like for you. But especially in your family unit, you've got to be able to and willing to do the shit that you're talking about with your kids. Because again, if they just see you saying, hey, do as I say, not as I do, you're not going to have any value in their life. You're going to have a teenager that doesn't give a fuck about what you think because all you've done is talk a game that you didn't walk your entire life.
Well, and worse than that, they're not going to give a fuck about anything.
No.
Because there's no standard for them.
You didn't set a standard.
So not only do they not care what you think or what you say, but because there's no standard in their life, all of a sudden it really doesn't matter. And so you have, I mean, I don't think it's by chance that we're seeing a whole generation of teenagers dealing with depression and anxiety because they don't know the standard to which they should hold themselves. And so instead of being accountable to their actions and being accountable to, hey, I need to work on me first instead of sitting on TikTok for 5 hours because I watch everybody else do that. Now that standard has changed and we're living in this world of like fake. And so it's a whole different standard. Set the standard for you first. Let your child see that, but then set the standard for them. And we're talking about.
I think what happens when you set the standard, it's a generational standard.
Yeah.
It gets passed on, right? If your parents only ever worked a 9 to 5 their entire life, they never pursued any entrepreneurship or higher education or trade or whatever that looks like. Well, the reality is that's probably where you're at right now. And look around and see, hey, what did mom and dad do? And what am I doing that's contrasting that? How does that equate to my life? And that will probably be a really easy exercise for you to see that this is not just like some bullshit. This is real life, right? Because when you expose your kids to winning, they want to win.
Yeah.
When you expose them to being average, they're going to be average. So stop being fucking average. Go out and win. Go be the best version of yourself that they can be. And they're going to follow suit because you set a standard to do that.
And as like a practical note, ask them what they dream about.
Oh, hell yeah.
What they want to be when they grow up.
Help them chase their own dream.
Help them push them along and help them set the standard. Okay. And again, practical, we are raising an artist. She is 7, but from the time she was probably about 4, she has said out loud, I want to be an artist. Yeah. And so the standard is, okay, well, what does an artist do? And we've read books about artists. An artist draw every day. Artists paint every day. There's some type of medium that happens in an artist's life every single day.
Well, and we're holding her accountable to those things. Like, hey, if you want to be an artist, go be the best fucking artist you can be. Have fun. There's a line, right? Like, I think I want to make sure that we're not portraying an unhealthy thing here. Correct. Because it can be unhealthy. Like we've all seen, like what comes to mind is like those crazy like pageant moms or like sports dads.
Yeah.
Like, and look, I'm a sports dad, and if my girls wanted to do pageants, I would do that. But we're doing those things because it's what they want.
Right.
It's not us trying to live vicariously through them because we missed some shit in our childhood. It's, hey, what's your heartstring? What's your dream? What's your love language? What speaks to you? Let's go fucking chase that and then find a balance.
Right.
But accountability in that balance is really important. And so we teach our children that if you're going to be something, be the best.
Yep.
And so that means that, like, hey, we'll say to our 7-year-old sometimes, like, hey, did you learn to draw anything new today? Did you go out and watch maybe some YouTube videos? And Emily will sit and actually do some drawing with her.
We actually do like mom and daughter drawing like competitions, not competitions, like we actually follow tutorials, and she'll teach me stuff and I'll teach her stuff. She's actually gotten really.
So we pull up a chair at the counter. Sometimes I'll come home from work and sit and draw with her for a little bit. I love drawing. I drew a lot when I was a kid. And so it's taking the time to build those things in your children and setting a standard that, listen, if this is what you want to be the best.
Yeah. And it's okay. Like, you're allowed to be the best.
Fuck yeah.
So, and I think that there are some cultural things like, oh no, everybody gets a trophy. That's just not
There's
how.
No participation
that's
trophies
not real
in the Derrick
life.
household.
Like, when you get into real life, there are winners and losers, and so participation trophies, they don't really mean anything. If you're gonna do it and do it for you. Like, I want you to be the best because you want to be the best, right? And so, like, for her, it's, what did you learn new in art? Did you learn about a new artist? Did you learn a new way to do something on the iPad or with a paintbrush or with a pencil? But it's practical for us because we homeschool. It becomes part of just our daily routine. How can we draw in math? How can we draw a story that we're illustrating? We're reading Charlotte's Web. Can you draw me something that you heard from the book? And it's like, it hits all of those different notes. It's comprehension, but it's also art. It's feeding who she is and helping her comprehend in the way that her brain best works.
Well, and like, contrary to that, we have a ballerina in the household.
Correct.
And so we have a 5-year-old who loves to dance. And so, like, that kid's going to be a fucking cleaner.
Yeah.
Like, she is hardcore. And she'll tell you, like, no, I'm going to go fucking practice.
Yeah.
I'm going to go be the best ballerina that I can be. And so, like, they're working on, what do they call it? Spotting.
Yeah.
Where they look at a spot on the wall when they're spinning so they don't get dizzy. And so, like, she's spotting across the whole house, like, just dancing and practicing because she wants to be the best. And, like, I'll brag on her. She is.
Yeah.
Like, in her class, she's killing it. Like, girl's awesome. She's got a natural talent for it. But figuring out what your kids' dreams looks like is a huge part of this. Don't be selfish with your time. Yeah. Take some time to pour back into their dream too, and help them chase their dream, not your own.
Well, and if it's possible, we try to encourage incorporating
very much so
their dream into our plans, right? So for our artists, we talked about allowing her maybe to draw some art for our podcast, for our blog, for our Facebook page. Maybe she can draw some sticker designs. And it's incorporating their giftings and their talents and their dreams back into ours so they can see how one feeds the other. Now, that's not her job, and I'm not going to hold her to that, but if she wants to participate and help her creativity feed something else, we encourage that as well. So finding where they're at and what they want to do and encourage them to be a part of who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a limitless cap to this, guys. And I think that if you really just get a hold of this, that you don't have to stay where you're at. Like, tomorrow can be different.
And I think if you get a hold of this, you can't stay where you're at.
No, like, you can't. If you haven't gotten a hold of that yet, like, I don't know, we're not doing our job. Please let us know.
Yeah.
But
contact us. We'll help.
But I think,
we'll
like,
clarify.
The biggest thing is just understanding that there's so much more out there than what you've been exposed to.
Yeah.
I never thought that I'd make the kind of money that I'm making in my life. I never thought that. No one in my family's made money like we've been able to make. And it's not to brag, but it's like, when I was 15 or 16, I was like, man, I'm going to make $70,000 a year and that's going to be phenomenal.
I was excited when we were making like 35.
Yeah. Like, I remember we came out of like getting married. We were in our early 20s. We were both making like $35K a year. And we were like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, we've arrived, and we had no idea. Yeah. But that's because we had never been exposed to what was possible.
Yeah.
We didn't understand what we could really do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take the limit off of yourself, because yourself is your worst enemy, right? Like if you're just listening to yourself and saying, hey, I can't, I don't know how, I'm not capable, I'm not qualified, I'm not educated, I'm not ready, tomorrow. If you keep listening to all that fucking suck, then you're going to keep sucking. You have got to set a new standard in your life. And that standard means that, hey, not tomorrow, now. We're going to go do this right away. Whatever that looks like for you, we're going to do something to move the needle forward. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable to those things. And we're going to put in the work and find the hours and the time and the minutes to do this. I don't know what that looks like for you. Go figure that out for yourself. But stop just being comfortable where you're at. Stop sucking.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to suck anymore. You know too much at this point. If you're 8 episodes into this fucking thing, you know too much to just keep sucking. Get off the couch. Go make some changes in your life and change your fucking family tree. Change your legacy. Build something that's unbreakable. Because I promise you, if you build these values in your kids, and they start building these values in their kids, and then their kids start building these values in their kids, it's a world changing legacy, guys. It means that you get to live on eternally because you became the person that built the foundation.
Yeah.
That's it. There are people in family trees that family tree will always be the foundation of that family tree, even though there were people before them, right? You look at the Rockefeller family, like you go back and there's a person in that family that started that legacy, and he had parents, but I promise you, not a lot of people know them.
Yeah.
Right? They know who started, who changed the family tree, who built the foundation and put in the work and chased their dream. That's who the world remembers. And they'll be eternalized because they said, fuck you, I'm going to go do it anyway. I'm going to set a standard.
And this isn't easy. Please do not, the steps are easy, but playing it out and walking it out is not easy. And be prepared to hear the doubt, to hear the people say that's not possible or that doesn't happen. You can't do that. Or roll their eyes or the side remarks behind your back. You have got to come to a place that you really can just say, fuck them. I don't need that. I can do this regardless. And so in our experience, we have come to this place where we have really come to this idea of family of choice, that there are going to be people in your life, and it's not always blood relations, but there are relationships in your life that are not adding value and they're not pushing you along this path that you're walking. And you have to come to a place that you can say, I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to choose the people that, one, are going to push me forward and hold me accountable and see me for who I am and not this person that doesn't have the piece of paper or doesn't have the qualifications.
It's making the decision to have people in your life that move you forward and not people that pull you back. And if they pull you back, you got to push them out. And maybe that doesn't mean like push them. That sounds kind of harsh, but it just means that maybe they're not in your inner circle. Right. And so this is really a Stewman principle that we've really got a hold of really well. Yeah. And it's family of choice. And listen, like I think for us in our life, there's been some people in our life that are close to us, whether they're blood or not. It's equatable for both. But there's some people in your life that just don't necessarily bring you peace anymore, or they don't support you. They don't move you forward. And so you might need to spend a little bit less time with those people. We are, I forget who said it, but everybody says it now. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's the reality of it. And so you need to put yourself around some people in your life that got your fucking back.
Well, and not just that, but there's this huge accountability. Like, I don't want just people that are going to yes men, right? I don't want somebody to just nod and smile.
I don't need you to stroke my ego.
Right. If I am not moving forward, I need you to call me on it in a healthy way. And it doesn't have to be nice, but it needs to be healthy. And
it needs to be in love.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that's the difference, right? There's people who say things to you from a place of trying to cause pain.
Yeah.
And there's people who say things to you in a place of trying to cause healing or growth.
Yeah.
And it needs to be the latter.
Right.
Like you need to be able to build people up around you.
So, and I want people that are moving forward too, right? I don't want to be pulling everybody along, and I don't want to be pushing everybody along. There are going to be times that I need an extra push, and there are going to be times that my friends need extra pushes. And I need to have that balance in my life and in our life and in my children's life, right?
So the reason this is so important is because it's really crucial to making your dream successful, because like you need some outside perspective on some of this shit. Like sometimes you need to be able to bounce ideas off of people and talk to people and get some insight into what's next. And that means having people on both ends of the spectrum around you, like circling yourself with some people that are a little bit ahead of you and some people that are maybe right around the same level you are, or maybe even a little bit behind you, because you've got to have a well-rounded perspective on things and people that are willing to have hard conversations. Because it's those hard conversations that have growth, and being willing to come in and say, hey, I fucked this up. How do I fix it? You know, and that's a reality. Like we've got some people in our life and friends that like we've all given each other permission to be like, hey man, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's not okay. Or why are you doing this? Or what's your thought process here? And it's in love. Like, we know we care about each other, but we've given each other the permission to hold each other accountable for that. And so find some people that are willing to run the race with you. Find some people that are chasing better. They're chasing tomorrow. They're not just stuck in comfort and suck. Like if your friends are not moving the needle forward, you probably need to go find some new friends. And that might look different for your group or this group or whatever, but I don't want to be surrounded by people who are comfortable where they're at. Yeah. I want to be surrounded with people who are chasing better.
Yeah. So, and understand and realize that your peace has value, and the peace that your family needs has value, and you don't have to risk and put your family's peace for the sake of everybody else's comfortability.
No.
Right? So, and this is a hard one because I am a people pleaser, and this has always been.
We both are.
I've always struggled with this in every environment that I've ever been in school, at home. This has always been like, I would rather be uncomfortable than to rock the boat. And for me, this is a hard lesson that I'm learning, like walking out daily, that sometimes the peace of our family is worth somebody else being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And that's not always easy.
No, it's not. It's really hard sometimes.
But it's valuable.
Yeah.
And understanding that our peace as a family unit really does change the dynamic of us moving forward. Because when we're in turmoil, everything else gets way more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, when you disrupt your peace and you allow yourself to get into a funk, because it doesn't just end with like fucking up a day, right? You do something that messes up your day or your peace or whatever that looks like for you, and then there's fallout from that, right? Because now I'm upset, and so you're upset that I'm upset, and then now you're upset and I'm upset, and so we're harsh with the kids, and now the kids are upset, and now it's 2 or 3 days and everybody's upset. And so it's just not worth it. It's it gets way out of control. And so when you get into those moments where it's like this snowball that you've let fuck up your whole week, and now you've lost a week of progress because you're concentrated on something that shouldn't fucking matter.
Right.
Like I don't care what anybody thinks except the person that sits across the table from me and how their kids see their father. That's what's important to me. And like, if you don't like that, that's okay. Fuck off. I'm going to do and chase this without you. Like, that's okay with me. I don't need you to run the race with me. You can be an observer.
Or not.
Or not. But I'll wave at you from the finish line.
We're going to keep going.
So you've just got to have a mentality that it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
And like, just jump, just go all in and be okay. You know, and there's no retreat. There's no pulling back. There's no changing my mind. I'm doing this. Come along or don't. That's okay. And I know Emily's dying to get into this story, so I'm gonna let her tell this. We love this story, and so it's really just going to war with no other options.
So one of my favorite stories dates back to music that I grew up on, and I love Stephen Curtis Chapman and Michael Card because they were both storytellers, and so all of their music was just these very vivid stories. Well, Stephen Curtis Chapman in the 90s wrote this song called Burn the Ships. And he's talking about Cortez and Cortez coming across, he's a Spanish conqueror, and he came across the ocean to conquer the Aztecs and steal this humongous treasure that has been the stuff of legends, and it's gold and silver and diamonds and artifacts. And it's so well known that there have been conquistadors from all over the world that have tried to get this treasure, and nobody succeeded. The Aztecs have held on to this treasure for hundreds of years. But Cortez has a different plan, and he's traveling across the ocean, and he's gathered these soldiers, and he comes to the shore, and he gathers everybody up on the shore, and everybody's waiting for like the battle plan. But instead, Cortez stands on the beach, and his command is burn the ships.
To the fucking ground. And they do.
And they do. Because there isn't another option. We're going to either take the treasure and we're going to sail back in their boats, or we're not going home. And that's the place that you need to get to on your journey for your dream. Burn the fucking ship. There is not another way back.
Another way.
You have to get to the promised land, or you're not going back. Like, you have to get there, conquer it, and then everyone will know who you are, but you can't go back. And there's not another way. Retreat is easy when you let yourself have the option.
And it's a mentality shift.
Yeah.
It really is. And so what, in that story, what it does is it made those soldiers really give the war, the battle, everything they had, because they knew there was nothing to go back to. And so you have to press forward when you don't have another option. And I think we're all guilty of giving ourselves like the out, right? Like, oh, I'm going to try this for this long, and if it doesn't work, then I'm done.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I might do this, but if this happens, then I'm going to go do that. Mm-hmm. And so you can't give yourself an out. Like, you can't, it's got to be non-fucking negotiable in your life that, hey, I'm going to give this everything I've got. I'm going to go in, I'm going to fucking kick the door down and make it happen. And when you do that, when you know that there's no going back, it changes the way you fight the war or fight the battle, right? It just does. It's a mentality shift. And so it's such a mental game, guys. I can't even explain to you how much unlocking the perspective and the mental aspect of your mind just changes the game for you. It's game changing. It really is. If you can figure out how to own your thought process, the world's the limit. It just is. And we're realizing that in our own life more and more every day. We're pursuing that every day. And I can't fucking wait to see how it affects our legacy. I can't.
So thank you for coming on this journey with us. Thank you for getting through this episode. We are non-negotiable number 5. So we're talking next week on a hard one. And I'm going to just leave it at that. It's a hard one. It's one that we're still walking day by day. But know that this is the standard, right? You set the standard for your family, for your legacy. Burn the ship. Don't turn back. There's not another way out except forward. Go forward, set the standard and set it high. This is your legacy. Leave your mark.
And it's your standard. You get to decide what it is. It doesn't have to be what it's been, but it can't stay that way. So go fucking raise the bar. So guys, if you're listening, we just thank you so much for like tagging along with us and being along for this journey. Please make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening on. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Anchor, SoundCloud. No, I don't think we're on SoundCloud yet. We're on all the places. Go find us on all the places. And if there's a place that you're looking for us and you can't find us, let us know. We'll make sure we're on that place too. But we really appreciate you being here. Thank you for following along. Stay tuned for next week. It's going to be fucking badass. It's going to suck, actually. I can't wait. We're struggling with this next one. It's a big one, but it's something that we all need to hear. So stay tuned for that. Hey, if you got this far and you smash that like button on our podcast release episode this week, we're going to give everybody a really cool Derek's Live sticker in the mail that does that. So when you see that, hey, episode 8's live now with all the links, just hit the like button and then hit us up in the DMs with an address and you will get a sticker in the mail this week. So do that for us and we'll take good care of you. It helps our post engagements, which means other people get to see it the more it gets liked. So thanks for hooking us up on that. Guys, we thank you again for tagging along. Fuck your excuses. And remember that Jesus fucking loves you. Peace.